Hello and welcome to another episode of Attacking Third, a CBS Sports Soccer podcast. I'm Sandra Herrera, joined today as always by my colleague and co-host Lisa Roman. On today's episode, we have a special guest joining us today, NWSL PA President, Washington Spirit midfielder, and vital part of the search committee for the newest NWSL commissioner, Tori Huster, joining us on Attacking Third today. Tori, how are you?
Pretty good. Yeah, I can't complain. Lots of good news coming out this year for NWSL. So super excited and happy to be here on the podcast.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. We were chatting a little bit off mic about all the action that's happening across NWSL. Biggest one is obviously the new announcement of new commissioner Jessica Berman. And we actually got to speak with the new commissioner on Wednesday, and she chatted a little bit with us on Attacking Third about how impressed and excited she was with how many players were involved in the ongoing search for a new commissioner. For you yourself as NWSL Players Association president, what was your role within this player search committee for a new commissioner?
Yeah, my role was similar to the other players. I got the chance to interview the final candidates, 4 candidates that had been narrowed down in a very good process. We were also very aware of the process that had taken place before the search firm that kind of took this all on really was very transparent about how they went about, getting people, going through resumes, then narrowing down to 10, then narrowing down even further, and how they landed on these certain the candidates that we ended up being able to interview. So I was able to sit in. I think there were 7 players. Megan Burke also sat in, so there were 8 of us from the player side that got to meet and communicate, discuss with these candidates, and kind of ask them, get into the nitty gritty of some of the stuff that's really important to the players, and ask some hard questions. And I think, players going forward are going to be vital to the growth of the league. And we did demand that we be a part of this commissioner search process last fall. NWSL agreed to that. And I think that they saw that it was super important for us to be a part of it. And they saw how, I think, how beneficial it can be when we all come together and, take part in the decisions that are going to help the growth of the league.
Tori, you mentioned it, a search committee of 7 players: Brie Vasali, Crystal Dunn, Kaylee Collins, Jane Campbell, Nicole Barnhart, Emily Menges, yourself, and then Megan Burke, executive director of the PA. You got to ask those questions. So what were you as a group, what questions were you asking? What were you looking for in your commissioner?
It ranged from anything from like personality type questions. How do you deal with adversity? How do you deal with criticism? What would your best friend say about you? And then it went even as far as, what's the first thing you're going to do if you are named commissioner? And then I think also just trying to understand what their understanding is of a players association or a labor union, and what that relationship looks like, and how they're going to, which I think is one of the biggest roles of the commissioner, how they're going to bring everyone to the table and eventually find agreement. Even though we may disagree, we have to find the compromise, and trying to ask them and really, really dig into that, because that's been an issue in the past. There's a lack of trust there, like in other leagues as well. It's difficult for players to trust league and vice versa. And we're really trying to improve that, I think, and really asking those questions and how we can make those improvements moving forward.
Yeah, as Sandra mentioned, we did get a chance to speak with Jessica Berman about this. And one thing she was really passionate about was having those conversations, building that relationship. So ultimately, this group of players and this search committee, you're interviewing all these different players, and it comes down to it. And you picked Jessica Berman. So what is it about her that excites you to be the NWSL commissioner?
I think that her resume is super impressive. I think she has a different, I wouldn't say levels of experience, but she has experience in a big league like the NHL. And then she has what she has called multiple times to us in our discussions, experience with a challenger league. And I think she's aware that the NWSL may be a little bit ahead of the NLL as far as resources and visibility goes, but she has had to deal with a lack of resources and do really well there. And it sounds like from her experience and, you know, our own research, that she's done a really great job being deputy commissioner there, that the NLL is really going to miss her not being a part of their league. And so I think that she can kind of marry those two together, and NWSL bring that experience together and really help, you know, improve what needs to be improved in the NWSL. I think she'll have a good pulse on how to marry that, the different levels of resources and the different experiences that she's had on both sides, with a lot of resources with NHL and even her experience with the labor disputes in NHL, but then also a challenger league like the NLL.
You know, as we're looking ahead a little bit to 2022, it really sort of feels a little bit like it might be this new chapter. I think that so many of us were waiting to sort of kind of turn the page on, right? There's now this announcement of a new league commissioner. The first ever CBA was ratified. There are now going to be 12 clubs in this league, and you know, instead of 10 going through expansion. So for someone in your position, as you're sort of looking ahead to 2022 and maybe even beyond, if you like, what are you most excited for, whether it's in this upcoming year or in the near future for NWSL?
Yeah, I guess, I don't know, am I allowed to say this, but it is about damn time. Like these things, it's been 10 years and I wish it had been done sooner, because when I look back and I think of some of the players who stopped playing because of a lack of resources and benefits and things that, you know, the CBA will govern, I wish it had been done sooner so we could keep some of those players around. Now, you know, things happen for a reason, and we're at this point and we have to make the best of it. And I think we're doing that. There was so much tragedy last year that we really, I think, were able to voice what we felt was best going forward. And I think that has worked out very well so far, but there is a lot of work still to be done. And we're very well aware of that. This is not just a put out a statement and clean my hands of it, or clean our hands of it. There is really hard work to be done, grassroots things that need to happen to stabilize, make a good foundation for this league that hasn't been there in the past. And I'm just happy that players are really, you know, taking this responsibility on their shoulders.
You know, we're talking a lot about here in terms of your role specifically, right? And sort of how you have not necessarily emerged as a leader within different spaces of the league, but something that we've been doing on Attacking Third, really stemming back into last month as the CBA was ratified. I was talking to a lot of different players about their reactions to the CBA, but I'd actually like to talk to you specifically about the PA as a whole a little bit, you know, to sort of have those kind of humble beginnings of just sort of being a place where players can sort of have a supportive network, right? To finally becoming a full-fledged actual like players union, right? Going to negotiating tables, you know, bargaining for, you know, a new contract. For you, what was your progression in terms of this leadership role that you now find yourself in today?
Yeah, I think initially it was really, and I'm sure all of this news is out there, but or information is Yael, you know, she went around to each of the clubs and said, we would like to form a union. This is vital to the growth of the league. This is important for player security, all of that. And I think at the time, I want to say that was around 2016, at the time, national team players weren't going to be included in that. I had been on the club for a while, and probably at that point, even though I was still mid-20s, probably one of the only returning players, because there was so much turnover with our club, that I just became probably an easy face to communicate with. We had played together in the past as well, so we were comfortable with each other. And she just asked me to be a player rep. If she had communication, she would reach out to me if there was anything going wrong. I could reach out to her. Very basic stuff. From there, it kind of turned into, I think it was just a matter of being really responsive to Yael. I respect her so much, and I respected what she was doing at the time, kind of on her own time, in her own time when she was still playing, and really wanted to be a help. And I think that she appreciated that. So she asked me to take a bigger role at one point. Gosh, can't remember exactly when, 2017-ish. That's, I think, around the same time when Brooke Elby got more involved, and she was amazing at, going out and getting sponsorships. She's now in business school. She's going to be a force to be reckoned with when she gets out of business school. She's going to hit the ground running and do some really amazing things. But I think just after Brooke ended up going into business school, she retired because she had some really difficult experiences in our league as well. And she wanted to write those, became our executive director along with Yael. And I think that it was just an easy transition for me to kind of go into the president role. I think that being in a leadership position like that, oftentimes when it is something new like that, you're kind of just called to it. It's not something I sought out. It requires a lot of work, a lot of phone calls, and it can be exhausting at times. And sometimes you have to do stuff that you don't really want to do. And I wouldn't say I'm special in any means. I think there's so many other players out there that would do awesome in this role. And they're going to have to once I retire. So I'm excited for that. But it's really simple. Like it's not anything exciting how I've gotten into this role, but I've learned so much, and I've loved all of the interactions that I've had with our other executive committee members. Have created great relationships with them, great relationships with Megan. Just the amount of progress that we've made in a short period of time is so impressive to me, and it's due in part to the amazing work of everybody that's been involved with the organization.
I love hearing how these things evolve, because right around the ratification of the CBA, we had a chance to speak with Yael and kind of about how it got started. And she let us in on a little anecdote that it started as a group chat, and then it kind of just snowballed into these things. So it's interesting that your role as president almost kind of happened like that as well. It's like it kept expanding and growing, and you were there and you had the experience and the knowledge, and you kind of stepped up to the plate to continue to do that. And as media covering this league, and as a fan of this league, and as a former player, congratulations to you, Tori, because there's a CBA, first ever CBA in the league's history. And you were a huge part of that. It was a long time coming, and finally it happened before the 10th year of the league. So congratulations to you. How was kind of that process and ultimately getting it announced, the ratification of the CBA before the 2022 preseason started? How was that for you?
Amazing. It was down to the wire, as it usually is. But the fact that we were able to do it before preseason started, gosh, we've said so many times, sense of relief. There's a sense of security there. It's like, finally, this has been a long time coming, and just so excited for some of these young players that are going to enter our league and be safe. That was one of our biggest things, even from everything that happened last year. Safety is so important. Mental health is so important. And I think we did really well in those areas when it comes to the CBA. And just feeling like these, I look at some of these rookies, and Spirit has a decent amount of them, and even younger players, like they've only been in the league for 3 or so years. They're very young, and that's amazing. But I want them to have a spectacular experience in our league, and a really just great beginning to their career that they can be really proud of and truly happy with. And I think that a CBA makes that a little bit easier.
You know, it's really delightful to sort of hear from you specifically as the president of the PA to sort of talk about this, because what we were doing throughout the month of February was really celebrating the CBA on attacking third. We challenged ourselves to do like a full 12 team preview. So within that, we're talking to a player from every club, and we were asking them because we wanted to hear from them and celebrate this sort of historic achievement. And everyone sort of, said their piece on it and reacting to it. So, whether it's your teammates, your peers, your colleagues, I guess at this point we can refer to them, when we're looking at and chatting with them about it, there are so many things within this actual CBA that we can just tie to direct player experience, right? Things within it that discuss the obvious big ones of like, minimum salary, requirements, the concepts of parental leave, things that address mental health, and so many things in between. And as someone who was very active, right, for the PA in these negotiations, is there a particular point or detail within this CBA that you're most proud of or that resonates with you yourself personally?
Yeah, I've already touched on it, but the mental health article in our CBA is it's going to set a precedent. I think there's nothing like it in any other CBA that I've ever read. Having a mental health leave, paid mental health leave, is unheard of. And it was exactly as you're saying, due in part because players were coming to our bargaining committee meetings, sharing their experiences, and really just pushing the importance of not only our physical health, because we have the health and safety article in there as well, and certain medical professionals that need to be on staff, but also the mental health. Mental illness is a real problem, not just for athletes, for our entire world. And it is again, about time that we have something like that, some protection over things that can happen. They're tied, right? It's physical and mental health are tied together. And it's just important. And I'm really, really proud of the fact that we were able to negotiate for that.
I think it's such a huge point. I mean, as Sandra said, we asked so many different players what was important to them. And a lot of them said that because it is so important to really set that precedent for sports leagues and just companies across the world and across everything. So CBA in place, 5 years of the CBA, you get 4 years with the new commissioner, Jessica Berman. For you, Tori, when you look at the next few years of the league, what goals do you have for the league?
That is a great question. Gosh, there have been so many goals that we've, or so many, I guess, tasks that I've been able to check off my to-do list recently, which is great. But
love checking off things off the to-do list.
Right. Don't you? Sometimes you just got to write something on there and then check it off, something you've already done. But I think one of the things that always comes to mind is a really great broadcast deal. And I think that might seem strange. But I think that, everything that all eyes point to that, or, we get more eyes on the TV if we have something like that. When we have more games on TV on the weekend, it's more visibility. When there's more people in the stands, then more networks want to be a part of that. And it's just about, being really nimble in that space, which I think that the new commissioner is going to be really great at. And, I really just think that that's our next step. It is the visibility. It is the legitimizing of the league. Being on TV for female sports is super important. It's the next best step.
It's coming off of 2021. And we touched on it a little bit earlier in this episode, but there was almost a real fight at certain points to sort of feel like the players were trying to get their voices heard. And speaking earlier with Jessica Berman a little bit, and speaking with you now, It sort of seems that the things that have sort of been coming up is that it's a mutual priority for both parties here to make sure that there's a good relationship between the league and its players, to continue to build those lines of communications in order to foster continued good relationships. Is there a point now where maybe looking at things laid out in front as you, whether it's yourself or your peers, where you're feeling like maybe now for the first time in a long time, voices are being taken into consideration and being heard?
I think so. I definitely think so. I think that might just come with, people that are in power positions are being very professional about how it is that they go about making some of these decisions, and making them in isolation hasn't worked in the past. Asking a player what her true experience is and what she would like to see, and then making the decision based on that, is going to have an effect on that player, a positive effect. And I think you even get that is a way to build trust. I think trust is something that's always talked about, but it requires action. And I think that that's what we're seeing. So not only are we taking part in these decisions, having taken part in those decisions is a direct effect of an improvement in trust, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense, Tori. Thanks. I mean, you're letting us pick your brain so much on this, which has been your world and consumed you over, the last few weeks and months, but years almost, it seems like, as the president of the PA. And now I want to ask about you, because you're a great player in this league on a great team. Suffered a bit of an injury at the end of the 2021 season. How you doing? How you holding up with that?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Last year was an unprecedented year for me, as far as just everything I was having to manage mentally, emotionally, then physically. It was really difficult, but I think it was just kind of, a reset, a chance for reflection on why it is that I'm doing what I'm doing. A lot of the stuff that I was doing off the field last year, I am now seeing, I'm now seeing how important some of that work is. But yes, I think with my injury, rehab is going very well. I'm not trying to rush through the process. I don't think that will help me, but I am out in sunny California, so that's always great too. But I'm going to be really excited to rejoin the team. I love being around them, and also just kind of excited to be a bit of a fan for a while. I'll certainly be involved from as much as I can be, being 3 hours time difference behind, but really excited to see how the Challenge Cup goes and how, we can back up what we did in the fall, winning a championship. Now we've got a target on our back, and I think it's important that we push to repeat. We can't be complacent. It is time to gun for another championship, and I'm just excited to see what the team can do, and also always available to help and assist any way I can, even though I'm having to rehab, which is probably my biggest focus right now.
I love the vibes, sending good vibes across the country to Washington Spirit, gunning for that 2-peat, looking to win the championship again. So you mentioned you're in California, you're rehabbing there. Have you had a chance to kind of check in with your players? Are you in touch with them? Are you really focusing on your individual rehab? And if you are checking in with them, how's it going for preseason for the Spirit?
Yeah, I think, such a great problem to have. But I think for probably 2 weeks of preseason, we were missing 11 players. So that's to national team duty, which is amazing. That's so incredibly impressive. A huge props to all of the players that got called in, and some of these younger players too. I think that's great experience for them to have, and only strengthens us as a club. And I think, I have been checking in. I think been checking in not only with players, but with staff. I am lucky to be involved in some of the discussions in improving the club going forward too. I think everything, all the hard work and energy that we put into things last year, it can't be, there has to be action behind it. And it's going to be a long process to improve things and make things better. And player voice is always helpful, as I've said already. So yeah, they're doing great. They're doing fine. Really missing them. It's hard to be away. Definitely have some FOMO every now and then, but I'm proud of everything that they have going on, and really excited to watch them in the Challenge Cup.
We're excited too. You're keeping an eye on your teammates. We're keeping an eye on the Spirit as well. We're going to be excited to see what the team is going to bring in 2022. This has been a delightful conversation. Tori, something that we do to close out our guest segments is we like to maybe have a little bit of fun, lighthearted question to sort of close out on things. And you are addressing and handling preseason a little bit differently. Like you said, you're focusing on the rehab portion of it for yourself. But a common thread that's come up when we're talking to some of your peers or teammates across the league during preseason was concepts of like getting back into a rhythm, getting back into a routine of things. And that still comes into play when you're rehabbing back from an injury. So I'm going to pitch you the same question that we've sort of been asking of other folks on the show. When it comes to, getting into the routine of things in a preseason, is there like a go-to? A, it's a two-parter. A, are you a coffee drinker? And B, if you are or not, what is your sort of go-to like pre kind of scrimmage or pre-routine type of beverage, pre or post? It can be either or, before or after.
This is a great question. I had no idea where that was going to go, so I was a little nervous. Sometimes when I get asked like the real not personal questions, but like, what's something we don't know about you? I can never think of anything. So this is a good one because I am very routine driven. I like to know exactly what my schedule looks like the day before, and I think out here that has been top priority for me. I want to know exactly what my day looks like. And luckily I have rehab pretty much at the same time every single day, but I am a coffee drinker. I think most people know that, even people who don't know me. I am a coffee snob through and through. But I will get up in the morning. That is the first thing I do. I go grab my coffee. I actually go to the beach because this is something I know I won't have come summer. And I'm trying to take as much advantage of it as I can. So I have my coffee on the beach. I'll do my morning meditation there, come back, do breakfast, get breakfast ready, get supplements ready. And then I go and I'm at rehab for 3, sometimes 3+ hours. And then I'm already into the evening after that. And that's kind of my day. So I'm a little boring at the moment, but it's really helping me stay on task and float some calls all through that. That's kind of, that's where I'm spending most of my time, but coffee drinker. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Coffee
Caffeine.
drinker on the beach too. That's like, chef's kiss, the best.
Yes.
I like that. I like that added component to it. Sometimes it's like we've heard a lot of different wide variety. It's like, oh, we like just the regular black coffee. Some people are more of a latte. We've had people expose themselves and say, listen, not a coffee drinker. We prefer teas or some other type of beverage to get the caffeine in it. But I like the two components of coffee and a beach. I love that. We would like to thank everybody at the end of our episodes for listening. So shout out to our audience for joining along with today's interview with Tori Huster. Tori, thank you. Best of luck this year. Everybody, you can follow us on Twitter at Attacking Third for so much more. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, anywhere you listen to your podcast shows. And we're also available as video. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Visit youtube.com/Attacking Third. For Sandra Herrera, Lisa Roman, and Tori Huster, this was Attacking Third.